Bob, real quick, having mentioned that it's a shame that the promoters aren't working together, aren't able to make the fights.
The promoters are working together. It's only the people that don't know what the hell they're talking about that say that for propaganda reasons. We work with promoters all over the world, whether they're from Australia, whether they're from the UK, and we certainly would work with promoters in the United States, and we do. We do. We've used last year a number of fighters that were promoted or managed by Al Heyman, with no problem with doing that.
Last year you mentioned something about talent trade. Do you hope to get more of that this year? And are you close to making any more fights like that where you're using different talent or whatnot?
Again, doing fights with Al Heyman or with Golden Boy is not the sine qua non. Of course we would do that, but it's more important, or as important, that we do fights with other promoters so we can show other fighters. Now, if Golden Boy has a fighter that we're interested in having fight one of our fighters, that's fine. We definitely should do it. If we have a fighter that they're interested in putting on a show, fine, there's no problem.
I would assume there'll be a lot of interest in Jerwin Akaha's working with promoters like 360, Sanford, to make the biggest fights at super flyweight possible, like Carlos Cuadras and Ravicia or whatnot. Is that in the foreseeable future?
When we signed Jerwin, the goal wasn't to just do the biggest fights possible. The goal was to make him a star, to make him somebody who is recognized and somebody who is followed in this country. Similarly to the way that happened with Manny Pacquiao. So I am not concerned with putting him in with this guy or that guy. That'll come later. Nobody has seen him fight in the United States except briefly on Manny's card from Brisbane, Australia. Let the public see him, and then we'll put him in fights against top guys that, might be fighting on some other network.
So where is the expectation, Mr. Bob, for the first event of the year?
Excuse me?
The expectation for the...
Well, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I really believe that he is going to be a superstar. That's why we signed him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he will be one. That depends on him. So we're going to start him off slowly, a good fight against this Gonzalez. People will get to see him. Then we'll bring him back in about 3 months afterward. People will see him again. And we'll build up a base substantially on the first round with other Filipinos who are living in the United States. There are 6 to 7 million Filipinos in the United States, and that is the start of a big fan base. And that's what happened with Manny Pacquiao.
The Zurdo Ramirez is back in a few weeks. Zurdo Ramirez.
Yes.
Talking about what is the expectation?
I think Zurdo Ramirez is the best super middleweight in the world. There's this tournament going on with a lot of the English fighters. There are a lot of good competition for Zurdo, and we expect him to fight at least 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year, so people get to see him, get to know him. He's a very, very entertaining young man. He's a terrific fighter. He has a great story, and I think he'll be a star.
Freddie, speaking of a big fan base Lomachenko has, what are your expectations for him this year? What can we expect from him?
Lomachenko, I've talked to them. I explored whether they were interested in going to 140 and fighting Pacquiao, and they weren't ready yet. They wanted to go to 135, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to have him fight at 135, and we're going to get the best opponent available at 135. And we hope to get him back in the ring sometime before the end of April.
So, is there an opponent in mind at 135?
Well, we wanted the good opponents. The good opponents are, Ray Beltran, if he wins his fight February 16th. Jorge Linares, if he wins his fight Saturday,
are you going?
Would be a great opponent. They're a lot of talented guys in the lightweight division. So, talking with Lomachenko, he will, in all probability, leave the 130-pound ranks and fight for a title at 135.
Next fight, late April.
I hope if we can be arranged the next fight late April.
Linares could be the guy, very well be the guy, right?
Linares is terrific. I mean, that would be, I like that fight because a lot of people think that Linares will be the favorite because even given Vasili's skills, which are, nobody has the skill level he does, that Linares is the naturally bigger guy and is a good boxer, good ring technician, and has a hell of a shot in that fight.
Bob, you caught a lot of heat for saying that there isn't a fighter you've seen in your life that has his skill set.
That what?
You caught a lot of heat for that, for saying that you haven't seen a fighter with his skill yet. You compared him to Ali, to Pacquiao. What did you make of that?
I don't care what anybody said. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. I haven't seen a fighter with the skill level that he has since Muhammad Ali. Now, skill level is very important. That doesn't make him the best fighter ever or anything like that. But his skill level, I've never seen anything like it. The things he can do in the ring, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's unbeatable because his skill level is so high.
If you were to add Pacquiao onto the Crawford card, like it's being rumored, there's articles out there, would that be a pay-per-view, a mandatory pay-per-view?
Well, Manny doesn't come cheap, and if we bring Manny back in April, it would have to be on pay-per-view.
Have you even thought about opponents at this point?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about anything because we have to get everything finalized with Manny, with his people, with his tax advisor, and everything before we can even make any announcement. Do we have an opponents in mind? Yeah, but I can't discuss it.
What about venues in mind?
What?
Have you thought of a venue for the next Pacquiao fight?
Yeah, well, we hope if we can do it in time. We have a reservation. We've reserved the big Madison Square Garden, not the theater, the big garden.
For April
14th.
That would have to be with an opponent. Obviously, he's big enough to sell that out, but it will have to be with maybe a New York-based, fan-based fighter.
New York is an international city. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and New Yorkers don't just support New York boxers. Indeed, they have a whole history of supporting boxers from outside New York. So I'm not concerned about that. The Lomachenko, when he fought Rigondeaux in the theater of Madison Square Garden, which has 5,500 seats, we sold that out in one day. So now that he fights, now if Manny fought with another big fight on a pay-per-view card in Madison Square Garden, the Madison Square Garden people tell us that with their fan base, they would sell it out.
Bob, you're only as great as your competition, and in the spirit of competition, you're only as great as your competition. In the spirit of competition, how do you plan to compete with the schedule that Showtime recently announced? Great fights. You have great fights coming up yourself. Can you?
I don't. Nobody. Showtime listed a schedule of fights. Some of those fights are excellent fights. I commend them on having a program of those fights. But that's not competition. That is collegial. That is people working in the same business to achieve the same purpose, and that is to create interest in boxing. That is good for us. That is not bad for us. And I think Espinoza agrees that what we're at ESPN is good for him and Showtime. It's not bad for him. The only guy that doesn't know whether to walk or run and doesn't know what he's doing is Nelson, because Nelson looks at everything as competition for the great HBO, which is not the case. Why would you think that what Showtime was doing would be competition for ESPN and us? Doesn't it help that other people are putting on good boxing? Helps them that we're putting on good boxing. So it is not. And then say, well, once in a while, you each have a show on the same night. Well, that should be avoided, but it can't be completely avoided. And look, in college football, you get afternoons where every network has a football game on. That's competition, but it isn't competition. It creates buzz and talk about football.
And part of the Showtime thing is too, don't you have a better feeling that you can work with Espinoza? Do you have a better feeling that you can work with Espinoza more than you feel like you can't work with Nelson? In regards to trust, you know?
No, I don't think Espinoza's a broadcaster. Nelson is a broadcaster. It's working with their managers, their promoters, and I think we can work with everybody. I think this is one of the great opportunities for the sport of boxing to elevate itself to the level that it was in the 80s and even better than that. I think we can make this a truly major sport again. And I think what Showtime is doing is very helpful. I hope what we're doing is very helpful. Certainly ESPN is behind it. And I really think that we're going to see a lot of bright days for all of us in boxing.
Bob, your top prospect, Michael Conlan, he's made a move back home. He's set to fight March 17th. How do you feel about him deciding to go back?
That's Mick Conlan. I think his wife is pregnant. He wanted to stay at home and train. He has in Booth a very, very good trainer. I never interfere with who trains fighters that I promote. That's not my job. If they come to me and they ask for my help, well, Bruce Trampler, Brad Goodman, matchmakers will give them help. But the idea that I hire and fire managers, trainers, is ludicrous. I don't. So if Mick and his people feel comfortable with Booth and would rather use him than Robles, that's his call.
Are you okay with Robles for Valdez? Yeah.
I'm okay with anybody that my fighters feel comfortable with. It's not my call. It's Frank Espinoza's call. It's Oscar Valdez's call. It's not my call. Manny is a terrific trainer. So, you know, if, again, it's not up to me. It's, I have to put on the show, I have to pay for the show, I have to give these guys opportunities, not select their trainers.
This, with Jerwin, I mean, he's obviously in a division where there's some great fighters, and some of them are hinged to another promoter, Loeffler. Can you get involved in some of that super flyweight action? I mean, that seems to have been a great series. Is that something that you can bring over to ESPN at some point?
No. Our idea with, I think when you do a series like that, it's I'm not saying it's bad television, it could be good television, but in my opinion, is not what I want to do with Jerwin. I want to build Jerwin up on ESPN and then move him to major fights.
In a different weight class?
No, it depends on, his body, and, it could be 115, it could be 118, it could be 122. We don't know. But I want to first expose him. I want to see what I've got. And I'm not anxious to go pick off a guy from their Super Series or join their flyweight Super Series. At this point, there'll be plenty of time to fight those guys later on. I had him sort of for the fight in Brisbane with Manny's card, but that was really Sean talking to my co-promoter Lonigan there. And now it's my opportunity to see him, and we figure out how we're going to build him. I mean, it's easy to put guys into a fight here, a fight there, and think you're doing your job. If you're a real promoter and you're trying to do the best you can, you've got to take your time and build the fighter so that you know that he's going in the right direction and can make the most possible money.
But that can also be perceived as ducking.
Ducking is, yeah, of course it could be perceived as ducking, but I tell the perceivers, go screw yourself. What do I care what you think? I mean, anything can be perceived as ducking, but I have a job to do, and my job to do isn't to put a fighter in with another fighter just because people say, well, let's see how it'll come out with that fighter. You make a fight. Would I do, for example, they asked me, would I do a Terence Crawford, Errol Spence fight? And the answer is, of course. But it's got to be a fight where Spence makes a lot of money and Crawford makes a lot of money. If that can happen, that's fine. Why would you put Spence and Crawford against each other on a fight either on Showtime or on ESPN, where their purses are not the same as they could make if they were built up, both of them, and fought on pay-per-view.
How good is Errol? Have you seen him? How good is he, and how far can he go, Errol Spence?
Errol Spence looks like he was the one guy after that Olympiad that we tried to get and didn't get. Was Spence. We tried hard to get Spence, and Heyman got him. So we have always recognized him as a superior talent.
Like Crawford more?
What?
You like Crawford more? Seriously?
Crawford what?
You like Crawford more than Spence?
I think Crawford, we think Crawford has the potential to be the best welterweight out there, and it remains to be seen. But as of now, if I had the choice of everything being equal, picking one or the other, I would pick Crawford. But Spence is the closest out there to Crawford.